So it's Knockmore 2-11, Garrymore 11 points in the Mayo Senior Football Championship semi-finals. Knockmore have booked themselves into the Mayo Senior Football Championship final after this 6-point victory over Garrymore. They'll play the winner of Belmullah and Westport. That game, of course, happening a little bit later today. But, of course, this is the match reaction, as always, where we have a look at all the weekend's club action, discuss all the big talking points, break them down, give my opinion, of course, as well. And, yeah, I did watch this game on Mayo GAA TV, and a very interesting game, nonetheless, between Knockmore and Garrymore. You know, I love watching these club games sometimes, games that, you know, I don't really know much about a lot of the players on either team, but, you know, you always learn a thing or two, where you see a player and you think, geez, he's actually quite a good player, and you see, you know, a style of play of how one club's playing, and it's always intriguing, and it's always brilliant watching a lot of different Gaelic football matches up and down the country. And do you know what, this was a cracking game of football. It was very intriguing between Knockmore and Garrymore. Garrymore in the first half were looking very, very good. You know, it looked like they were going to pull off the upset. You know, they were winning by 4 points at half time. They were leading by 4 points at half time. They kept that lead for the early parts of the second half anyways, and it really wasn't until Knockmore's changes on their bench really made the big difference. Keith Rutledge, for example, who came off the bench, he scored 1-2. He made a massive difference. Liam Durkin as well, what a player he is, what a talent. And, you know, remember the name, because he looked like a very, very good player. There was one score where he chipped the ball up with his right foot and then slotted it home with his left. I mean, caught it with his hand, slotted it with his left. It was, you know, majestic stuff, no doubt about it. And in particular, Knockmore, like, you know, they're a team that, for me, with some of the young players they have coming through at the moment, Aidan Orme, Conal Dempsey as well, and like I said, Liam Durkin, Pierce Rutledge in there. You've got Shane McHale, who came in midfield, who I thought was very impressive. You know, like, Knockmore could really dominate the scene in Mayo over the next couple of years. I mean, Mayo's always very competitive. You know, Westport are looking very good at the moment. They're up and coming, obviously. You know, you've got a whole host of clubs in there. Bravey, I'm sure, will want to get over the line at some point in Mayo. You know, but looking at Knockmore in particular, with the young players that they come through, you know, I'd be interested to look at them and think, could they make a stab maybe at an All-Ireland this year? Could they maybe push on, you know, maybe beyond the iconic championship? You know, who knows? They'll need to get through, obviously, the winner of Belmullah and Westport first of all, and obviously that will be a discussion for another day, no doubt about it. But yeah, in terms of this game, we might just throw both teams you know, up on the screen here now, for example, because just to show some of the inter-county stars, or show some of the players, I suppose, that were on view for both, for, you know, view what players were on view for both teams. Garrymore, this was their side here, so you can see Enda Hession was playing there, a wing back. He was very impressive as well, to be fair to him. He came more into the game in the second half. David Dolan in midfield. Gary Golden, I thought, was very involved in the first half, was good at getting forward, supported the play really well. Cathal Slattery, actually, a corner forward there, left corner forward. What a player he is. Very, very talented. He was quiet in the second half, to be fair to him. Knockmore definitely doubled up on him and done a good job, to be fair, in the second half. But in the first half, he had 3 unanswered points. I thought he was very impressive. Young up-and-coming player as well. Another player maybe that could make a bit of a breakthrough into the Mayo team this year. You know, be curious to see what Mayo fans think about that, because he looked very, very impressive, no doubt about it. As for the Knockmore side, like, we know some of the talent that they certainly have. And they didn't have Darren McHale. He was actually injured for this game, but they still had a lot of their other talent, like David McHale, for example, Shane McHale in midfield, Conal Dempsey. You've got Peter Nocton, who's been, you know, the top scorer in the Mayo Senior Football Championship last year, and same again this year. He was starting at corner forward. Adam Nocton came into the side. Pierce Rutledge is in there as well, and Aidan Orme, obviously, you know, highly talented footballer coming through the ranks, and Kevin McLaughlin, obviously a lot of people will be very familiar with him as well. He was in midfield. He's obviously been a long time serving player for the Mayo Senior footballers down the years, and obviously he's been very involved with Knockmore's success last year and so far this year. So, you know, you can see the talent that's on display for both teams. And, you know, but like what I said in the first half, like, Knockmore were certainly struggling. They were certainly, in my opinion, too focused on goals. They fell 4 points down, and, you know, they were opening up Garrymore time and time again, getting forward, whether it was Conal Dempsey or Aidan Orme, Peter Nocton on a couple of occasions as well. They forced a couple of saves of Linsky, the goalkeeper, in between the sticks for Garrymore. Brian Linsky, that is. He made a couple of good saves. But certainly, you know, there was a bit of a worry from Knockmore that maybe they were too fixated on goals, that maybe these chances wouldn't come, and you know, they were so focused on getting these goal opportunities that they were sacrificing points opportunities. And we've seen this sometimes in Gaelic football and hurling down the years, where teams are so fixated on goals that they lose sight of, you know, actually winning the game, and all of a sudden they fall too far behind and they can't turn it around. But to be fair to Knockmore, they had a clear game plan. They obviously must have identified coming into the game some of the weaknesses of Garrymore and some of their defensive weaknesses, and they certainly did exploit that on a couple of occasions in the first half. In the second half, they came out, they were definitely more decisive in their play, and it was really the third quarter where this game was won and lost. Knockmore outscored Garrymore 2-3 to a point in the third quarter, and really from there it was all said and done. It was game over. Garrymore just didn't have any answers in the second half. They certainly ran out of energy going forward. Cathal Slattery didn't have as big an impact. Enda Varley, he'll be a name familiar with a lot of Mayo fans as well. He came off the bench, made very little impact in my opinion, other than picking up a yellow card. Obviously he's coming back from playing for Vincent's over the past couple of years, but he struggled to really get involved in the game. And yeah, you know, it was a long ball in from Shane McHale, who was my man of the match. In my opinion, it fell to Pierce Routledge, who ended up you know, putting the ball in, or it was actually, so it was both Routledges who actually scored in the game. So the first goal was put in by Shane Routledge, and the second one, of course, was put in by well, actually, the first one, I should say, was put in by Keith Routledge, and the second one was Pierce Routledge, I should say. There's a couple of different Routledges going on there, so excuse my very confused brain, no doubt about that. I actually put Pierce Routledge in for the scores for Garrymore, which obviously didn't happen, so I've definitely confused myself a little bit there. But yeah, you know, it was Keith Routledge who got the first goal. Yeah, it was a long ball in by Shane McHale. It wasn't dealt with. It fell for Keith Routledge, who slotted it into the back of the net. The second goal was a little bit more of a, you know, a crazy goal. It was Liam Durkin who had the ball. His shot deflected. It just bobbled around all over the place. Fell for Pierce Routledge. The ball was on the ground and he just hit it on the ground. Really, really tidy finish into the left-hand corner. Goalkeeper didn't even move. Very tidy finish there. And yeah, you know, like what I said before, 2-3 to a point in that style of play. Liam Durkin was hitting a couple of points. Conal Dempsey came off from his, but he got a black card. He came back on, hit another point as well, and obviously Peter Naughton with a couple of late frees as well. So fair play to Knockmore, very comprehensive, commanding victory, no doubt about it. Very dominant in the end in the second half. Certainly will have a lot to work on. There was a couple of stages in the first half where Garrymore definitely, you know, if they had been a little more clinical in front of goal, if they had been a little bit better at seeing out the game, maybe Knockmore wouldn't have come back into it in the way that they did. But I don't think you can dismiss Knockmore in this game. Thought they were brilliant in the second half, and now certainly going into that county final, they're going to be a team definitely to watch out for, and no doubt about it, I'll be very intrigued to see if Knockmore get through the county final, Corofin get through Galway. That potential matchup will be very, very interesting. I mean, you'd probably put Corofin ahead of Knockmore right now in terms of experience and having been there and done it, but that will be a very, very intriguing game, no doubt about it. But anyway, lads, do leave a like and subscribe if you haven't already. Do stay tuned for more reactions, podcast interviews coming soon, and I'll see you all later.